Happy May the 4th, everybody. And today, on 64 Beastie Man's channel, we're going to be taking a look at a tier list of all the Star Wars movies. And we're going to be going in chronological order up to Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So, let's get this started. First off, in humble beginnings, we're looking at Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, I like the opening scenes of The Phantom Menace. I liked the whole battle of them escaping the Boo. I like the pod racing scene with Anakin Skywalker going up against Sebulba. I like the Darth Maul fight on Naboo, and I like the battle for Naboo, both on land and in space, with them attacking the Trade Federation. Now, some things that kind of bring this movie down, in my opinion, were the political talk and the length of time on Coruscant, with the Jedi Council talking about Anakin and him potentially becoming a Jedi. Another thing that brought this movie down was midichlorians, and I thought that was kind of a regression from the Force being mythical as set up in the original trilogy. And then a minor annoyance that I had was Jar Jar Binks. Now, this is going to be controversial of me to say, but I didn't mind Jar Jar Binks as much as most audience members did when they first watched it. So, with all that being said, where do I put the Phantom Menace? Well, as much as I'd like to put it in an A, unfortunately I'm going to have to put it as a B. Now, let's move on to Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, some of the positives in that film were the Depth 6 joke, the intro to the clones on Kamino, the Jango Fett fight on both Kamino and in the Jedi Arena, getting to see the droid factory on Geonosis, the Geonosis Arena fight, all the way up to the fight with Count Dooku. Now, some of the negatives that really kind of were a turnoff for me was the dialogue between Anakin and Padme that felt really cheesy, especially that horrid sand dialogue. Like, I don't like sand. It's coarse and it's rough and it gets everywhere. Then the Council to grant Palpatine emergency powers to use the clones was really retardedly set up, especially with the way Jar Jar Binks was the one that urged everybody to give the Chancellor emergency powers, when literally Bail Organa could have said the exact same thing and done it a million times better. Then there's Anakin killing the Tusken Raiders, which led to an unnatural resentment of Obi-Wan, in my opinion. And it just showed a darker side of Anakin Skywalker that really felt kind of tonally off from the rest of the movie. Plus, the whole movie was kind of a bore to sit through at times, so B category, no, I think I have to go a C. The reason I'm not going for a D on this one is because, like I said, the positives help it out a little bit, but they're not enough to save it. Now, going to episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. If I can find the thing. Okay, where is it? Ah, here it is. Revenge of the Sith. Now, this is the better of the prequel movies. We got the battle over Coruscant, the General Grievous fight, Palpatine luring Anakin to the dark side, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. We got Windu versus Palpatine. We have Order 66, the killing of most of the Jedi, and we have Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar, uh, as well as Yoda versus Palpatine in the Council throne room. Now, with all that, you think it might be a kick-ass film. You might even think it's S tier. God, scroll back up. However, there are a few negatives to bring up as well. There's the Jedi Council scene where the Jedi Council doesn't grant Anakin Skywalker the rank of Jedi Master found it a little bit annoying. Then there was the length of time it took to go from the battle over Coruscant to the General Grievous fight, with the Jedi Council scene being thrown in there. So, minor negatives, but it's enough to bring it down from an S tier to an A tier movie. Now, we move on to the anthology film that I really hated, but I wanted to enjoy. Solo, a Star Wars movie. Now, I have already made a video about Solo, a Star Wars movie in the past. If you want to see it, the link to it will be down below. Some positives to it is seeing Han in the Imperial Army for a bit before meeting up with Chewbacca, and Han and Lando playing a gambling game from the Millennium Falcon, and the Castle Run escape scene. And those were some things that I really liked about this movie. But when factored in with a convoluted plot involving getting coaxium, mob scenes, as well as a twist of Darth Maul leading the mob, and on top of that, the droid who wants to liberate every droid in existence being annoying as shit, I'm sorry, but this movie I have to put in the D tier category. It's just, it's really bad. It's really jumbled all over the place. This was the worst of the two Rian Johnson directed movies. Then, moving on, we have Star Wars Rogue One. Now, some negatives to talk about here were this movie was pretty boring to sit through for the first two acts, which really brings it down a shit ton. Plus, there's the fact that James Earl Jones' Darth Vader voice sounds a bit off from what it usually sounds like in both the Force Unleashed games and in the original trilogy. So you might think this might be another D tier movie, but fortunately we have the positives. We have the side characters who they're pretty interesting. Then we have the battle involving getting the Death Star plans. So overall, while it might not be D tier, it's definitely C tier for the minor improvements. Then we have our humble beginnings of Episode 4, A New Hope. Now, a lot of it works. It introduced a lore that stuck with a wide audience, and most of the scenes were full of character and lively action, and were pretty good to shoot. From the attack on the Rebel carrier ship to retrieve the Death Star plans, all the way up to the destruction of the Death Star. Now, a minor annoyance that I found with some versions of this movie include the Jabba scene, where you could definitely tell that Jabba was CGI'd in at the last minute just to fill in a deleted scene that really didn't need to be in there. So, overall, humble movie with a humble beginning. I can't put it in S category because that's for another movie. So, I'll just put it in the A category because it's still a good movie. If you want to watch it, by all means, go ahead. You'll definitely get your toes dipped into something good if you're a new upcoming fan of Star Wars. Then, here's Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And here we are, this movie. This movie right here. Between the Battle of Hoth, the escape from the asteroid field, the landing on Dagobah to find Yoda, the cave scene, freezing Han Solo and Carbonite, Luke versus Vader, Vader being Luke's father, and the escape from Cloud City, everything seems masterful with this movie. Like, it took a step up from episode 4 and it elevated it to a new height. And it really challenged young viewers on what they perceive as good and bad. So it definitely belongs in the S category. Although some minor annoyances are that the movie feels slow towards the beginning until the Hoth battle scene, And some of the trading with Yoda feels a bit lengthy because of Luke Skywalker's bitching and annoyance to the whole thing. But overall, it's not enough to tack it down from an S to an A. It still remains in the S tier category for all the positives it ticks off. Then there's Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, which falls back down into an A category. As you could see, the original trilogy is definitely the better amongst all three trilogies, but more on that later on in the video. Now, some negatives that keep it from getting into an S territory is the initial meeting of the Ewoks, and minor nitpick, but the first time we get to see Darth Vader interacting with the Emperor on screen and not through a hologram feels, yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but I just didn't find it all too interesting. But with that said, there are definitely a lot of positives, including the rescue of Han Solo, Luke taking on the Rancor in the Rancor pit, the death of Boba Fett, the battle on Endor, Vader versus Luke 2, and Darth Vader saving Luke from the Emperor, plus the victory ceremony on Endor. It was definitely cute, it was definitely charming. And if you look at the special editions, you get to see more planets cheering and celebrating over the fact that the Death Star is blown up and the Empire is no more. Now, on to Episode 7. Now, some of the positives in this movie are the first shown instance of a stormtrooper being humanized with Finn, Han Solo confronting Kylo Ben Ren, and seeing stormtroopers use shock swords, especially the one that calls Finn a traitor, which I definitely like because Finn did betray the First Order when he decided to help Poe Dameron escape from it. However, this movie felt a bit rehashy of Episode 4. Somehow Rey knows how to pilot the Millennium Falcon without Han Solo or Chewbacca around. The battle over the Starkiller feels a bit weak, and Finn and Rey versus Kylo Ren feels very short considering we have limited interaction between all three characters when confronting one another. So, this movie definitely goes as a B tier movie. It's a step off from episode 4, but it's not terrible by any means. It's not C or D category. Now, episode 8. This is the movie that polarized the fan base, and I found myself among those who loved this movie. But after thinking about it a bit, I can definitely see where the hate for it comes in. For example, the Canto Bight scene feels way too longer than it should have been. One or more plot twists feel forced for the sake of tension. The power of Holdo using the light speed is way too strong for any conceivable notion of decency. Then, Supreme Leader Snoke isn't even explored. He gets at least a few scenes in the throne room going up against Rey, choking her out with all his force powers before Kylo Ren basically used his lightsaber to slash him in half. And let's talk about that, by the way. Snoke knows exactly what Kylo Ren is going to do. So why didn't he have the know-how to instantly counter Kylo Ren before he got the chance to cut him in half? Then Phasma got killed off as a byproduct of Holdo using the lightspeed to ram into the ship and slash it in half. So, great. There's another potential character we could have explored more about, possibly given her more battles with Finn, but no, you had to go and you had to kill her. Now, with that said, those negatives aren't enough to turn this into a bad movie. I found the exploration of Rey really good. Luke denouncing the Jedi, I thought I would never see, but I was strangely interested in it. Then there's the story of Kylo Ren turning to the dark side, which felt really textured and layered and believable. Then Ghost Yoda burning the ancient Jedi texts, and Yoda being a puppet, I found a pretty nice touch for this movie. Then there's General Holdo using the lightspeed to ram into the First Order Star Destroyer, sacrificing herself to save the other Resistance members who were in escape pods and were headed towards the Crystal Planet to save them all from getting destroyed by the First Order ships. And then Luke Skywalker using the Force to face Kylo Ren on an ethereal level. Because at first, when Luke Skywalker appeared on the Crystal Planet and Ben Solo was using his lightsaber and was trying to cut through him, I was like, how the fuck did that guy not feel anything? But then we saw that he was using the Force powers to create an ethereal version of himself, and I was like, oh, oh, great use of the Force there, bud. So, this movie is jank as fuck, but it's still pretty good in my opinion. So, it gets another B listing from me. Now, episode 9. Now, you guys are going to have to take this with a major grain of salt because the most I remember of this movie is from the Nostalgia Critic review. Now, some positives include Princess Leia using the Force to save Kylo Ren's life. We get to explore that one more time with Kylo Ren using the Force to save Rey's life after their battle with the Emperor, which I thought was pretty cool, pretty nice use of the Force. Then there was Kylo Ren's emotional scene with Han Solo, which felt pretty touching, and it allowed him to get closure with his father, and his father accepting his mistakes and forgiving him for his past errors. However, with those scenes out of the way, there's a lot to say about this movie that's really bad. Some scenes feel rushed, like Rey using the Force to heal a monster, and that scene doesn't have a whole lot of weight or exploration to it. Then there's the fact that the Emperor survived past episode 6 without any substantial mystery and intrigue to build him up. Even in the earliest trailer, when we hear the Emperor laughing, it's a bit jarring to hear since episode 7 and episode 8 really didn't play with the concept of the Emperor somehow still being alive. Then there's the fact that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, but at the end of the movie, she calls herself Rey Skywalker, denouncing the Palpatine name altogether. What was that thing that Luke Skywalker said? Bloodlines don't matter? Well, they obviously matter a lot to her if she's going to denounce the Palpatine name. Then there's Palpatine's plans to kill Rey, which his initial plan sucks, and his backup plans aren't even that much better. And then something I've noticed only now about Kylo Ren and Rey, never once does Kylo Ren get any sort of a victory against Rey in any of the newer movies. So, with all that said and out of the way, this movie I really want to see. Thank God I didn't see. This is going to the D list category. And with all that being said, we have one S movie, three A movies, three B movies, two C movies, and two D movies that I really thought I was going to like, but no. They gave me a reason to hate them. They gave me a reason to put them on this list in this category. They're just bad. If you have money to spend, or if you're watching them on Disney Plus, please don't see Solo or Rise of Skywalker. Please, I beg each and every one of you watching this video. It's just bad. Or if you're going to watch them at your own risk. Make a film analysis on them to explore why they're really bad. It did not need to be that way. Disney and all of its suits had an opportunity to make these movies golden, but they just failed right out of the gate. Anyways, this is where I would wrap up the video, but as an honorable mention, let's talk about the Clone Wars movie made by George Lucas. Now, this movie was the introduction to Ahsoka Tano, who I absolutely love as a character. There was the Battle of Christophsis, the rescue of Rada and Teth, Obi-Wan vs. Asajj Ventress, and the conspiracy plot between Zero and Count Dooku is simple and easy to follow. Capture Jabba's son, frame the Jedi for the crime, Jabba will slay the Jedi on sight, then the mighty Jedi Force will be forced to bring Jabba to justice, and Zero will be left to take control of all the Hutt clans. Then there's Jabba showing concern for his son, which I felt is pretty nice to see. I mean, as a father, you don't want to lose your son, and you would do anything to get him back. So, this movie gets it right when it comes to that. However, there are some minor scenes fleshing out the story that have been deleted. I noticed because I own the DVD of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and I got a chance to see these deleted scenes for myself. And then there was some of the dialogues in the ship fight over Tatooine that kind of felt really cheesy, really obvious. I mean, when those droids shoot down Anakin's ship because he didn't have rear shields, he goes like, "Oh shit, we should have had rear shields after all." With Ahsoka Tano saying, "Yeah, no shit," when the audience can decipher what's going on. Because of Anakin's neglect to rear shields, it should come as no surprise that this is what would happen. Then there's the fact that Rod doesn't appear anywhere outside the Clone Wars, so that's kind of a minor disappointment. You have a character that you don't even reference in the original movies. So, but those are minor negatives towards an otherwise good movie. So, in my opinion, the Clone Wars movie, solid start to the Clone Wars series, it receives an A grade. So, with all that tallied up, that's 1S, 4 A's, 3 B's, 2 C's, and 2 D's. So, yeah, this is my Star Wars tier list. And if you have any opinions about how this tier list could be different, yeah, feel free to make a comment down below, or heck, even make a commentary video about it because I would love to be open and receptive towards critique. So, anyways, may the fourth be with you all, and this is 64 Beastie Man signing out.